about 130. And then imagine we're investigating these deep ocean vents, and we find that the life as we know it does indeed drop away at 130, but then, say, between 180 and 200, we find other microbes living at these much higher temperatures, but separated by a temperature gap. Then that would stand out as being something truly weird, and we would then pay close attention. There are other extremes as well. We've got extremes of salt. The Dead Sea is the wrong name for that particular sea, because it's not dead at all. It's got microbes that live in incredibly saline conditions. There are other microbes that can exist in the waste pools of nuclear reactors. They're so resilient to radiation. There are those that survive in the dry valleys of Antarctica, extremes of cold, and in the dryness of the Atacama Desert. So these are all parameters which are extreme for life as we know it, but which will all have points beyond which life as we know it could not exist. Ultraviolet is another one. One that I quite like is what I'm calling extremes of yuck. That is where you have heavily contaminated lakes and rivers. We think of contamination as really bad for the environment, and it certainly is. We don't want to contaminate our planet, but the truth is that there are microorganisms that positively love heavy metals or conditions of high acidity and so on, and they will thrive in these conditions. But again, if you go too far, or maybe go too far with two of these things, maybe you have a high radiation and heavily metal polluted environment, life as we know it will not function, but maybe some exotic form of life would. But for my money, I think it's more likely that if there is a second form of life on Earth, then it enjoys more or less the same conditions as known life, and therefore it's intermingled all around us. It could be, if it exists, it's here on your clothes, even inside your bodies. You wouldn't know, because this type of life and our type of life really would be on separate or on parallel tracks. They wouldn't be dealing with each other very much. They might be using the same resources, same basic resources, but there's not going to be a lot of gene switching or anything like that, swapping between them. So it could be that they're all around us, and the question is only how to identify them, how to separate the sheep from the goats, to use the biblical analogy. Well, one way of doing that is to just come up with something that immobilizes or slows down all life that we know, everything that, for example, uses ribosomes. We could find substances that just stop the replication of all ribosome-using organisms, and then we have a culture medium and see if anything continues to grow.